Yeah, I thought it was the guy. Yeah, well, it's.
It's back also apparently. They're talking about measles.
Measles back?
Yeah, it's a hard one.
I feel like ever since COVID happened, it's like.
All right, Shkaya Chevra. There's definitely there's vodka in Laser's office. In Laser's office, there's stuff. What do you want? Laser's making a bar mitzvah tonight, so it's as soon as we're Kveger, we're not there. We're no, there's much better stuff at the bar mitzvah. And depends who you take in there. That's what I'm saying. What for Lasers, of course. Oh, can you take from the thing? Oh, he's never here. He's never. Right, so Traeger would have wanted.
The lazy, like he forgot about it. Like he remembers where it is.
Doesn't come here anymore, doesn't care.
No, like what was last time you really opened it up? He doesn't know.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't show up for davening anymore, but I imagine he shows up for a meeting once in a while. I don't know if Shia feels.
Is this a real thing? I stole this from someone else. I don't know. Recently became my client. I sold some swag.
Just for the year.
Just bought it.
It's
Contract required afterward.
Don't worry, tomorrow someone's gonna bring someone's sweater. Who has him? He's
I take it off as I leave. I put it all in my.
Yeah, all right. Okay, let's jump in. We'll do a little bit of Zayin Nikiyim today. Zayin Nikiyim is an area where I find there tends to be a decent amount of confusion. Sometimes it can be dangerously confusing from a halachic standpoint. We'll deal with some Shilo's post after the fact when clearly there was a pretty big mistake made. So it's kedai to get it clear, then make sure your wives have it clear, make sure that they understand what at least needs to be done. But that being said, I am always a believer in that we're not mashkiachs here over it. Too much checking in whether or not bedikas were done or this or that. Not conducive to a healthy marriage, but an occasional check-in to make sure that the halachas are still clear, as people can go years without having really done Zayin Nikiyim in a marriage. So it's get out of chazor every once in a while. So the first thing that starts really, the truth is, where we ended off last time leads right into halacha. That's very important for Negei Zayin Nikiyim. I think the last thing I mentioned last time was an important halacha that an isha can totally not be a nida, midiraisa, not midarbanan. Saw a spot, maybe it could be in the middle of the month. Did not make her a nida, but afal pikein, her status is, we tell people, is you're supposed to be parish from tashmish. Actual tashmish, while she's actively spotting until it clears up, that's a very bad idea. We're going to stay away from that. But she's not. You can touch, sleep in the same bed, hug. The actual tashmish, so you're not going to be engaging. Now, so why is that important? Well, it leads into a discussion with another important halacha. The Shulchan Aruch paskins. It's at the end of Siman Kuf Tzadik Vav in your idea. Hapeleta shechazer b'mei sfirasa. There's a halacha called somebody who is pilot shechazer. It's an obscure halacha in the Netum of the Tara. It comes in the Parshas Tazria Mitzvah. We don't really handle it so much because we don't think it's on Negeya. But it is it's the background information that's necessary for a very important halacha that makes nafkamina and hilchos nida. The idea between behind the paleta shechazer is essentially a man and his wife are together. Shechazer, the zera that comes out of a man has dinei tuma that go with it. And that's the basis for Takonas Ezra going to the mikvah on a daily basis, and maybe a source for a lot of minhagim that people do nowadays going to the mikvah often, even though Takonas Ezra didn't stick. But there's tuma that comes with that shechazer. Now, what happens is when a man and his wife has been together and the woman has it inside of her, she can be called peletas. She can re-discharge that out of her own body. That zera, and that will create a din tuma on her. That paleta shikva zera, that's what's called being pilot shikva zera. The discharge of the zera from the isha would create a din tuma on her. Now, that din tuma is really something that's only negea to mataris. It doesn't create its own isser l'bayla. It doesn't make her usher to her husband when she has that status of being perlit shechazera. So it's not really so negea. That's why it falls generally in people's minds. It falls into many of the other halachas that are negea and tilchas taras that don't really apply anymore nowadays. However, there is a very important afkamina of this status of a perlit shechazera. Perlit shechazera b'mei sfira. So what if she was during Zayin Akim? We haven't got what is Zayin Akim yet. We'll get to that, but let's just understand. I think we all understand the concept of Zayin Akim. Basically, it's a process of Tara, a tkufa of Tara that Nisha goes through Zayin Akim. She's in the matzah of that Tara, counting up Zayin Akim, and she has this happen to her, which is Parla Chechlazera during the Zayin Akim. So what happened is imu toich vav oines l'shmusha serseres ha'esiyah. If it is within vav oines. And Aina is day or night. So Vav Ainis is 72 hours, Meis Leis. If it is 72 hours from when the act took place, when the tashmish took place, it's still considered viable. It's still considered something that can create tumah, and therefore it's soiseres oisoyer. That's what we pass in. What does that mean? It means, let's say it was day 2 of the Zayin Akim, and this happened to her. She was probably Chichlazera. It would mess up that day. That day would not be able to count, and you'd have to be counting the next day. Now. Lefika. Now that creates a problem, okay? Because the shechazera is something that's difficult to see if it's there or not. It's not necessarily, especially the minhag is women are wearing white during Zayin Akim, so the white is not going to show up. The whole point of wearing white is that dam should show up. But now you have this problem that the shechazera won't show up, and now you can have an issue that it would have been Saiser, one of her Zayin Akim. She's going to not realize that it happened. Going to go to the mikvah on day 7. Really, she's only supposed to be going to the mikvah on day 8. She's supposed to have had this like black hole of a day during her Zayin Akim. That's a pretty. We're talking about a major issue here. We're talking about chayve krisos. So because of that, we have a significant issue that we may run into where an isha is part of the chifazera during Zayin Akim, doesn't realize, and now messed up a day and has to go wait a day to go to the mikvah, and she goes too early, and now her mikvah didn't count. So this is a potentially a pretty significant issue, very significant issue. So lefika, therefore the mechaber says, somebody who had tasha shamita and sees. Upaska, Virasa, Uvachrav Paska, but then stopped. Meaning Virasa means she sees down. She's Tash Shamita, then she becomes a Nida, and now she stopped becoming Nida. Eino Maschelas Lisra Shivanikim, she cannot start Zainikim. Achayavle Vav Oina Shlemas Shema Tiflet until Vav Oina 72 hours, 72 complete hours, Me'es Leis, from the time Shatash was passed. Because she might do it and she might not realize. Therefore, Zart said in the Mechaber Paskins, you cannot start Zayin Akim until you're sure you're out of that chashash. You got to be out of the 72-hour window where it may happen before you can even begin Zayin Akim. This is a trivia question. Ask you, where is this shaila? How many oinas does it take? Can a plet shechas happen for? Is it 6? Is it 4? Where is it's negaya, something that comes up every year? And negaya are yom tovim. All right, there you go. Very good. Shavuos, the machlokes is when Kabbalah Star happened is based on this. How long it could happen? How long the Pletachik could take? We passed in 72 hours, and that therefore Shavuos Kabbalah Star was on Vav Siva. But okay, Hamevin Yavin. But moving on, so that is the din of the mechaber, and that's it. That's when the mechaber leaves it. An isha cannot start Zayin Akim until she makes sure that she is 72 hours from the last time she had tashmish. And if we would go with that Shulchan Aruch, if we're going Sfardi, if we're doing that, it's pretty simple. You just have to make sure is keeping that in mind. Make sure you do not start Zayin Akim within 72 hours of the last time a husband and wife were together. You can't start Zayin Akim. However, that's not the end of the story. Comes the Ramah and says, V'yesha kosfu. Some say, Sheyesh lahamtin oider mechad. Some say you should wait another day. Dahainu. Shleitaschel limnais ad yom hashishi v'yer mishon l'shva. So he means yom shishi because the case of the mechaber was Sunday. The mechaber gave an example, and he said Sunday they had tashmish. So if they had tashmish on Sunday and then she became a nida, the way the mechaber says is she cannot start her Zayin Akim until Thursday, which is Wednesday night. That's 3 days. That would get you out of the 72-hour window. Let's say it's Sunday, noon, right? So Sunday noon, Monday noon, Tuesday noon, Wednesday noon. So Wednesday afternoon, you're good. You do a hefsek tara, you start Zayin Akim, and you're ready to roll in the world of the mechaber. That's Yom Chamishi. That's That's fifth day. So the Ramah, no. We do Yom Shishi. That summer night that she cannot start until Friday. Meaning Friday is gonna be day one of the Zainakiyim. Meaning Thursday afternoon would be the Hefsik. Thursday night, Friday would be day one of the Zainakiyim. Why? Because they're chayshish about maybe a tashish took place on Sunday, ben Hashmashos, and then you're going to mess it up. You're going to think it was day and it was really night, and therefore to remove any sfeikat yuma shaylas where people might mess up, and you know, we're dealing with something potentially very chomerous because it could be really messing up the Zainakim and creating someone to be ball on a nida midaraisa. And you know that's a pretty big chash. Therefore, just because of any consideration that it might create a fake of yuma, we want you to just avoid it completely. Add another 24 hours. That's how you avoid it. So the Ramah adds that 24 hour. He takes the 72-hour clock and makes it into a 96-hour clock. And then he adds another. So now, and then he says about this. Hold on. He says, "This is the minhag b'chol medinas elim." It's called Ashkenaz. That is the minhag. The ein l'shanas. We don't necessarily have the insight into the Ramah. Obviously, he's given us insight into how stark a minhag was picked up, and for whatever reason, he's telling you this minhag was picked up very strongly in Tzutzas Ashkenaz. By Ashkenaz, we don't mean Nusach Ashkenaz. We mean anything that's not Sephardi. So saying in Medinas Ashkenaz, this minhag was picked up very strongly. The ein l'shanas, you don't change from this minhag. Sometimes he uses lashon of Taival Hachmir or Yesh Linai, because here it says ve'ein l'shanos, and Sisson uses even stronger language at the end of the seven. But that's what he says when he gave this. But now there's more. The story is still not over. The Yesha Kosru, some say she'achshav nowadays ein l'chalik bin shimshem ba'aloi shimsha. We're not machalik. We don't go by when the tashmish actually took place. Rather, we go the whole whatever it is. She has to wait 5 days. She has to wait 5 days from when the last time it was mutter to have tashmish is the language that's used. Meaning it's not a 72-hour clock from when the tashmish actually took place. It's a 96-hour clock from when the last time it was mutter to have tashmish. So she became, let's say, tashmish hadn't taken place since Friday night, but she became a nida on Sunday afternoon. Since if she became a nida on Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock, since Sunday afternoon at 3:59 it was mutter tav tashmish, that's when your clock starts, and you got to start that 96-hour clock from 3:59 from the last time it was mutter tav tashmish. And again about this halacha, it says this is the minhag medinas elu. We do not change it. As I said at the end of the simon, he says about this thing that some are noig to make some sort of kula about this. He says parts gather b'dvarim elu b'makom shnagol hashta yishchenu nachas. Parts gather b'dvarim elu yishchenu nachash. The pasuk in Tanakh that we don't break down the fences that have been created based on these minhagim. It's a gather. The Ikar Din doesn't require this. He knows the Ikar Din requires 72 hours to the last tashmish took place. That's it. But like the Ramah, I'm going to add two things. I'm going to add 96 hours, and the minhag is to make it 96 hours from the last time it was mutter to have tashmish. Vein l'shanas parts gather yishchenu nachash. So let's just before we get into some discussion of shilas about this, let's just make sure we have straight exactly what the Ramah is doing. That's the most important thing, is to make sure we know practically what bottom line you have to do. So practically what a person has to do, very simple. I always find this is the simplest way to conceptualize it. Imagine you got a clock on the wall in your house, right? You got art on the wall, this. So imagine you also have a clock that is your 5-day countdown clock, right? Put it up, tell you what your wife has, what in the world is that? Don't worry about it. It's a special thing. It's a special thing we have up. Suddenly she sees it counting down. I have attention wondering what it is. But yeah, don't actually do that. But you can imagine that there is such a clock. So as soon as whenever you determine, okay, your wife comes to you and says, okay, it's that time. I'm neither now. We're gonna separate. You essentially, backtrack it to right before that happened, the moment before whenever the last time was mutter to have tashmish. And you begin this imaginary 96-hour countdown clock, and you just have to make sure that Zainakim are not starting until 96 hours are over. Again, in the case the Mechaber gave, Sunday, you're going to go from Sunday afternoon, 24 hours, Monday afternoon, 24 hours, Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday afternoon, Thursday afternoon, Thursday at Shkia time. That's when you could is your first opportunity to do a Hefsek Tara and begin Zainakim. This halacha that's called 5. They have to wait 5 days. People say, till you can go to the mikveh, it's 5 plus 7. It's not really 5 plus 7. 5 is a little bit of a cynical way of referring to it, because it's 4 plus. It's always going to be into the 5th day a little bit. It'll never be 5 full days. It'll never be less than 4 in a little bit. So it's going to be somewhere in that range, but it could be anywhere from 4 to almost 5 days, where you're waiting, and only then, after that time has passed, can you start Zainikim. So you've got that plus 7 until you go to the mikveh. Good? Okay.
But it starts if, let's say, usually sometimes you're not sure what to do, spotting or whatever, so you're being parish anyway. So that
Right.
counts.
Okay. So there we go. Right now we're gonna get into. So we'll jump to that one first. I said this halacha starts off really from where we left last time, because the lashon here that I keep using bedafka is from the last time it was mutter tev tafresh. So if it was aser tev tafresh anyway, then you can include that, and you can start the clock, go retroactively and start the clock from there. Right? Tisha B'Av, yeah, that would be a good example. A vest day might be a good example. If let's say it was Motzei Shabbos, open the window a little bit, stuffy here, no? So if it was a vest night, and let's say she became an Ida Motzei Shabbos midnight, and Motzei Shabbos is a vest, and so it was Asur anyway. I know we haven't discussed vestes yet. We'll get there, but I think we all are familiar with basically what it is. So it's Asur Tev Tafresh anyway. You can start the clock from earlier, and that can be helpful sometimes. Now, Alicia was just adding the other thing. This is a Rabbi Sokol Beis Yosef special. This school, and not everyone agrees with this, but I would highly recommend it. It can really be helpful in certain situations. So if you have if let's say sometimes it tends to work out, at least from what I've seen, is that women who have shorter, for a lot of women, it's not negaya anyway. They may get their period, and it may take a whole 4 days for them to be able to have Sakara anyway.
That's what
So
I mentioned before. You're saying that it's you have to wait. You anyways have to wait.
Maybe
So
some people not.
different.
Everyone's different. Everyone's different.
That's why I was like,
Each their own.
Each their own. Everyone's different. Not everyone has that.
5 days, whatever it is, saying either way, you don't know.
3 foot may make a big difference. I don't.
No, sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's whatever.
Right, but if you have to wait 5 and you could do it in 3, it makes a big difference sometimes.
No, but 3 either way, you said 72 hours, so.
No, but now we're going. The Ramah's adding a 96 hours on it. Whatever. Okay, some people can get it. Generally, people. I was just saying. The point is that generally people who have shorter periods tend to also have a bigger lead up for the period. What do I mean by lead up? They'll have like more spotting before, maybe even like a day or two of spotting, of pretty consistent spotting before they get their full period, and then they'll have a little bit of a quicker period. That whatever was, just I guess, started with that, and therefore there was less to discharge. So it was a little bit of a quicker period. So. Here's the key. That's what I always have to test people when they ask me this. If you know, let's say the example again. Motzei Shabbos she came an Ida, but Friday morning she saw a spot, and she knows what's happening. She's going to get her period tomorrow. Motzei Shabbos, whatever. Within the next 44 days, she's going to get her period. But she's not an Ida yet. But she saw a spot Friday morning, and then she sees another spot Friday in the afternoon, Friday night. She sees another Shabbos morning. There's another spot. And it's consistent. It keeps going consistently until eventually it turns into a full nida. So now, what you want to ask someone, if I determine that's the facts, that's what happens. When I ask someone, okay, what she spotted Friday morning. Were you parish from Tashmish? If someone says, yeah, of course I was parish from Tashmish. When you're spotting, you have to be parish from Tashmish. Then great, you could start your. You can pull your clock back, started from Friday morning already, because that was the last time it was mutter tev tashmish, and you're good to go. If I ask you Friday morning, were you parish from Tashmish, and you're like, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Like, why would I be parish? She wasn't an idiot yet, so why would I be parish from Tashmish? Then you can't really. And even if technically you say, well, it just didn't happen, okay, but you weren't noyig isser. If you were noyig isser already, machmas the spotting, you can pull your clock back. If you weren't noyig isser, just pumped it didn't happen, then you're still stuck in the Ramah's world.
If she's purchased or kind of mentally, but without specifically mentioning.
It's got to be not really, because it comes from a tshuva. This kula really comes from a tshuva from a Moshe, where someone asked him, "What if the doctor told her not to have tashmish?" Have a medical thing. So Moshe says, "Yeah, people don't listen to the doctors." Says, if they're interested, the mood strikes, they're going to do it, and they're going to ignore what the doctor is saying. I was not talking about like a major psychosis nefashis. Says no one's going to listen to the doctor. So machmas that. This is where Peismer saying that, okay, but that's doctors talking about, but Isser people do listen to. So that's where it has to come from. It has to be where you really understand that you're not allowed to be doing this now. You're not allowed to be having tasha. She's actively spotting. So if you understand that, if it's just like she mentally knocked it off, she wasn't interested. That's not.
No, her saying, but like, this is going to happen.
You don't have to announce. You don't have to announce.
Sure, I'm saying, if she like has some idea, maybe probably not a good idea, but doesn't say anything. And then one thing leads to the next, nothing happens.
So she never realized that it's really usher. It's not really just like that's what it's not.
She's thinking there's probably, possibly, maybe, and then, but just one thing.
But the consideration, the reason why I'm saying is because that consideration for halacha,
Yeah.
then it's fine. As long as it's had a consideration for halacha, then you would be able to pull it back, and start your clock from her. Like I said, not everyone is so happy with this kula. For these types of reasons, it's like a little like vague, like is it really machmas or is it not? But the belt we're piling drabon, chumras on top of chumras here. I'm pretty comfortable telling you to go with Evasoka's kula if it's Nageya and start your clock from earlier. What?
How many days earlier?
As long as it was consistent, meaning if she went, let's say she saw Thursday morning and then went a whole 24 hours without seeing again, so now you're really mutter again.
But if you were still.
But if it was consistent from Thursday, you could go in and hypothetical, as long as it's right.
You can start
That's in a
next.
hypothetical.
Right, and hypothetical, yeah.
So then you came after one day, hypothetically?
Yeah, hypothetically, if
This school is not one day, it's a full 5-day pool.
yeah, no, it's not just for the one day. We're saying it's not just for the chumras. It's not. No, it wouldn't just be for the chumras Ramah. The Ramah of the 96. You mean for the Ramah's 96 hours,
Okay,
maybe?
I was-
No, it's right. I understand what you're saying, but no, yeah, it's not just for one day.
If you're not a starter, it's not like you don't like the run is not chumrah on top of it. It's like that's it becomes the ikr like what we don't.
We are makel that we do pull out certain kulas in the Ramah. Like the Shlosh says, we don't go with this, but the Shlosh says if keeping 5 days is going to force you to come up with a mikvah night on Motzei Shabbos, that's Yontiv. Yontiv is Motzei Shabbos. So you end up being makel about a lot of things with chafifa and going to mikvah. He says that don't do the 5 days, do the 4 days. Be makel against the Ramah.
Really?
That's what we don't go with it. But I'll tell you, there's a great Ramosha, and Ramosha says if you're in the country and it's going to be a Friday night Lel Tefillah and you're not going to get to the mikvah, he says if you could get a hefsek Torah Thursday night and go Thursday night, he says do it. Don't be makel on the Ramah.
Rather than go a day late.
He says you could do it. Rather than go a day later, he says you could do it once a summer. I don't know how often it's going to happen.
Why is that cool though? Why is it one if it's?
Just wait a day.
Why is it better to go a day earlier than to go a day
It
late?
happens twice a summer.
It could be he's talking to matzav where maybe it wasn't going to happen much a shot, maybe the husband was leaving much. So I'm not sure. I don't think anyone.
Technically, it happens twice a summer, right?
Well, I all the time. Whoa.
7 years ago, I went to the Rabbi Baruch Miller. It's plenty cool.
Yeah.
When I went there weren't many coolers.
It was in Beis Yosef, like who's one place?
But yeah,
Why is it limited to once a summer? Let's say it could happen twice or even 3 times a summer, right?
we can't. Yeah, these are different views from Moshe. He does no London, so he just says it once. He basically his way of saying that once in a while you can do this. You can't. He's not comfortable doing that. Right. You can have, let's say, other things sometimes happen. For some people who have problems with infertility issues. Well, sometimes it has to do with the time of the ovulation, that it's too early, and the ovulation is not lining up. By the time they're getting to the mikveh, they're already past the point where they can get pregnant. So you have to kind of. So one of the things they sometimes recommend is skipping months, meaning go whole months without going to the mikveh, so you don't have to wait with the. You just go if that could help, but obviously that's inconvenient and not a l'chachila option. But that would be an example also where they would tell you maybe go day 4. Don't wait for Ramah's 5th day. Of course, we are, even though the Ramah uses strong language, of course, but we do makel. We are makel. Sorry. Clock Club 96 hours. 96 hours from the last time it was mutter taf tashus. Okay, moving on from that into the. No, it's pretty late. Okay, but let's go into the ikar sugyas of Zainakiyim. So, okay, the halacha is this is where we need to get clear exactly what has to happen on a as a bare minimum what has to happen during Zainakiyim. So The halacha that's passed in Shulchan Aruch is when an Isha is ready to start her Zainakiyim, and a Zav is ready to start his Zainakiyim, in order to begin the Zainakiyim, on the days that she stops seeing, this is ignoring the other part of that, maybe she may have stopped seeing already earlier, but the day she stops seeing, she has to be B'dekes, what's the Lashon here? I'll leave you the Lashon. B'dekes b'yom shepasik k'dei shetifsek b'tayr. She does a b'dika, on the day she stopped to see, k'dei shetifsek b'tayr. That she should have what we call a hefsek tayr. This is a very important concept for to begin the Zainakiyim. What is Zainakiyim? 7 clean days. Who says she's clean? It's 7 days. How do we? She was bleeding. She thinks she stopped. Who said she's clean during Zainakiyim that we can call the Zainakiyim? We're trying to explain that by doing a bedika, you create a muchzakos. You switch her muchzakos. It's like a lamdish thing from a cheskas roya to a cheskas eno roya. She was b'muchzak to be seeing. Being able to get one clean bedika. The Chazon says even for 1 second. The point is that she had if you know there was a moment that was clean, that now creates a din cheskas eno roya, and that's what's going to give her the whole. Without that, you have no. Okay, someone just came on. Happy birthday. Is that Yankee? No, it's not. Is it? You're Jack Bauer. But I have a lot of stuff I have to cut out. I have a lot of stuff I have to cut out of Zoom tonight before I post this one. Yeah. What was I saying? This hefsek tayr is what creates it. Without this hefsek tayr, you have no muchzakos, you have no cheskas in a roya. So pashas, it's a deraisa. Most places can believe it's a deraisa, and you have nothing, and you really have nothing with it. There are cases where you have like a fry of people. There he is. Okay, fine. He's in bed even. Okay, it's Ingle. He couldn't show up. He couldn't show up here. He'd say, "Oh, maybe could say hi." Yes, it's like they're in bed here. There you go.
I knew it.
Yeah. So the what I say is sometimes you'll have, and these are chomer shilas, are tough ones, where like let's say someone who's not really from, or maybe she's just starting to become from, getting married. She comes to the mikvah very excited that a couple days before her wedding she's ready to go, and the mikvah is like, okay, what's bedikas like? It's like, oh, what do you mean? Like I'm going to the mikvah? Like what? It says there, and it's there is a long-standing sorrow when it comes to mikvahs that it is the responsibility of the mikvah to make sure the person is going properly. We don't just let people go into mikvah just it's not to be something that'll make them feel better. It has to be something that's halachically valid, and it's a tough one what to do. And big poskim can really scramble with trying to find ways to say, oh, there really was a bedika. It's not partial shilas, but I'm just saying that the point is that this hefsek tayr is really not. It's immovable. It has to be done. It's supposed to be done. It must be done before shkia. What shkia is depends on how Haimish you are and where your Messiah is from and what nusach you daven, but exactly how much time you have after shkia. But the poskim are pretty makbid about, even the Sirish poskim are makbid that it should be really shkia rishona, sunset. It's got to be done before that of the day you want to do the next one. That's got to be when your hefsek tayr is done. L'chachila closer to shkia is better. Why l'chachila is closer? Who cares? As long as you got a hefsek tayr, you got a hefsek tayr. Right. The idea being, again, because the lumdus is that this hefsek tayr is not there just to say she stopped. It's there to create a azaka throughout the Zainakiyim. It's a certain energy source throughout the Zainakiyim to say this is what's going to say. This is what's going to say that she is tar the entire time and no longer seeing. So in order to create that force, that energy, you need to the closer the better. The closer to the beginning of the Zainakiyim, the better, and therefore the closer you get to shkia, the better it is. Generally, it's not advisable to do it right before shkia. You can get messed up. You can go after. So, or if you want to try another one, you don't want to do it right at the shkia. Most women will be taught to do it about a half hour, an hour before shkia. Something like that is the l'chachila window. That's the best. If it's no good and they want to try another one, you wait about 10 minutes and try another one. If they didn't wait and they did another one and it's good, call her up. But they should be doing it closer to shkia. B'di'evet, if they do it in the morning. Right, this is a common thing that comes up in winter days, especially for women who go to work. It's not necessarily so plush to be going to doing hefsek tayr in the middle of their work day. So they'll do one early. They'll do one early in the morning before they leave. If they get a chance to do one later in the afternoon, they should be doing another one. That's how they're supposed to do it. But if they miss it, then they rely on the one in the morning, and that's totally fine. That's hefsek tayr. That must be done And there's really no chill when it comes to getting a hefsek Tara. Where there is major chill is when it comes to the next thing is Moich Dochak is this Chumas Harashba that Rashi came up with, based on the same lumdas. The Rashi says, wait a minute, but even a few minutes before Shkia, who says you started Zainakim Batara? Who says that creates this Cheskas in a roy throughout Zainakim? So he wants you to have basically a Moich Dochak, a Vadika sitting there the entire Ben Hashmashos. To be sure that you started Zainakim Batara, whatever point the Zainakim began. This is a Chumash Rashba. It's not from the Sugya. It's the lashon of the Ramah is Yesh lahachmer l'chachila. It's noigin lahachmer l'chachila, like a double lashon. It is not b'diavad. It's not ma'akev, and it's just a chumer. It's not meker adin. But we try. Women should be trying to do it l'chachila if they can. It does not need to be there. You don't need to go from sunset to 72 minutes after Shkia or anything like that. You can be very. Ramesha says even like I think like 15 minutes or something like that. Is the amount that can be there. It should be in there sometime from whenever Shkia is to a little bit after that. Let's say 20 minutes, something like that, and then take it out and hopefully it's clean. Now what I'm saying is that there's a lot of chill with this. Is if we're going to get rid of anything, it's going to be the moich. It's going to be the moich. If women go crazy, if they don't like it, it's bothering them. It's painful. It's annoying. Speak to Rav about it because it's usually the first thing. It's usually the first thing to go, or if they have just problems getting clean, they can't. It's not working. Moich is going to be the first thing that is going to go. Where I get nervous, I was saying with some people like a few years afterwards, and they don't really know what's going on. Is sometimes they'll come in and they'll be like, they'll clearly be mixing up the terms. They'll be referring to their hefsek Tara as the moich, and the moich is the hefsek Tara, and that gets me very nervous because now we may have had a big mix-up because the moich is after shkia, can't really work for the hefsek Tara, and so if they think the hefsek's the one we're super makel about and the moich not, that's a problem. So it's important to know the dangerous difference between hefsek Tara and moich. Hefsek Tara is the bedika, regular bedika that's done before shkia. It's got to be done. If you miss shkia, a few minutes, speak to Rav. Maybe you can get up to, if you call someone Williams, or you get up to like 25 minutes after Shkia, where they'll be makel, something like that. The more standard psak is more to go like up to like about 10 minutes after Shkia, but the avid to be makel. But that's one that's got to be done, the hefsek Tara. The moich, either it is, it isn't. It can be frustrating, can mess things up sometimes if it's causing problems. Speak to your local Orthodox rabbi about it. Okay.
What does the hefsek do?
What?
With the Rashba, what does the hefsek do? If the mic is the one that's giving you the chazaka.
Well, really, in the world of the Rashba, it seems like you would just do one. You would basically put in a bedika before Shkia, leave it there, and then it would work as both. They don't do that nowadays. They want to make sure because the bedika is done differently than the mic, and they don't want to. Those just want to know you have a clean hefsek before you bother with this mic. They don't want to try to do the mic. But we do so we do it in the. Okay, now comes Zainakim. Straight in the Torah says Zainakim. What is Zainakim? V'safrlo. An Isha has to count. If Isha can see is over, down is over. The Safrlo Shabbos Yomim. I'm mixing up the saying the wrong pasuk. Kitara Mizar the Safrlo Shabbos Yomim. I was looking right before at the different Mefarshim al Torah on this. You know what? Actually, I'm going to tell you. Let's 10:31 already. Let's hold it here. We'll match it from this next time because it's a little bit of an arichas. All right.
There's some
Hey,
who was given for to only do it one